When the United States announced sweeping tariffs of up to 50% on Indian exports, the global reaction was immediate. Economists predicted disaster, Indian exporters panicked, and the world assumed that New Delhi would bow to Washington's economic pressure. But what if the real story is the opposite? What if America's attempt to weaken India is, in fact, accelerating India's transformation into a global power? Tonight, we take you inside the silent earthquake shaking the global economy and how it may end with the US funding India's rise. The move was supposed to be simple: raise tariffs, protect American jobs, and punish India for buying Russian oil. On paper, it looked like Washington was tightening its grip. In reality, the very industries America wanted to protect, from textiles to technology, are now facing shortages and higher costs. The American consumer is suddenly paying more for everyday goods, while Indian companies are finding new doors opening across Asia, Africa, and even Europe. Consider Surat, the diamond capital of the world. At first, thousands of workers feared for their livelihoods. But within weeks, Indian diamond exporters rerouted shipments to the Middle East, Europe, and even to new markets in Africa. Dubai has become the new hub for Indian gems, with billions of dollars in trade now flowing outside American control. What looked like a collapse in Surat is quietly becoming an opportunity to cut dependence on the US market. And this is not limited to diamonds. Textiles from Gujarat, pharmaceuticals from Hyderabad, seafood from Kerala, all are finding alternate buyers. India's trade with ASEAN nations has surged. Shipments to Russia and China are expanding, and BRICS nations are fast-tracking payment systems that bypass the US dollar altogether. The tariff wall that America built is ironically forcing India to integrate faster with emerging markets. Meanwhile, inside the United States, the backlash is growing. Retailers complain that their supply chains are broken. Small business owners who once relied on cheap Indian goods are now facing shortages. Consumers see higher prices at Walmart, Amazon, and Etsy. Even Wall Street analysts warn that the tariffs are inflationary, adding fuel to an economy already under stress. In short, Washington wanted to punish India, but it ended up punishing its own people. This is where the story becomes fascinating, because every dollar an American consumer now pays extra on diamonds, clothing, or medicine is not vanishing into thin air. That money is flowing back into India's expansion through alternate markets and through stronger alliances. For example, when the US shut its doors, the European Union opened talks with New Delhi for faster trade deals. When tariffs closed one market, BRICS opened another. India is not retreating, it is diversifying. And behind the scenes, China and Russia are watching closely. For Beijing, America's aggressive tariff war has created a perfect opening to court India. For Moscow, which is already selling discounted oil to India, this is another chance to deepen economic ties. Washington wanted to isolate New Delhi, but instead, it is pushing India directly into the arms of America's rivals. The irony is almost poetic. For decades, American policymakers warned about the dangers of protectionism. They told the world that free trade was the key to prosperity. Yet now, by embracing extreme tariffs, the United States is violating its own gospel, and in the process, creating space for others to lead. India is stepping into that space with quiet confidence. The global supply chain is being redrawn before our eyes. Ports in Mumbai, Chennai, and Kochi are busier than ever, not with US shipments, but with containers headed to Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Indian shipping companies are investing in new routes. Logistics firms are upgrading their networks, and perhaps most importantly, India is strengthening its role in value-added production, moving beyond raw exports into advanced manufacturing. The more Washington raises barriers, the faster New Delhi adapts. The story is no longer about avoiding pain. It is about turning that pain into power. This is what separates a rising nation from a declining empire. Empires collapse when they cling to old strategies. Rising nations thrive when they embrace disruption. Just think of history. When Britain tried to block American trade in the 18th century, it only made the US stronger. When the US tried to choke Japan's access to resources before World War II, it forced Tokyo to become self-sufficient. And now, by cutting India's access to the American market, Washington is unintentionally giving New Delhi the same gift, the gift of independence. Inside India, this realization is spreading fast. What was once seen as a tariff crisis is now described as a wake-up call. Political leaders are rallying around the idea of self-reliance. Business chambers are accelerating their push into new territories. And the Indian public, far from panicking, is beginning to see America's pressure as proof of India's growing power. After all, Washington would not target a country unless it truly mattered. Meanwhile, the American political landscape is in turmoil. Some senators demand even harsher measures against India. Others warn that tariffs are destroying US competitiveness. Lobby groups in Washington are spending millions to either defend or dismantle the policy. And as the 2026 elections approach, the tariff war may become one of the most divisive issues in American politics. But here is the question the world is asking: who benefits in the long run? If history is any guide, it will not be the nation building walls, it will be the nation building bridges. Right now, India is building bridges across BRICS, across Eurasia, and across the global south. The United States, in contrast, is building tariff walls that isolate itself. The truth is, America's tariffs are not a weapon against India. They are a mirror reflecting America's own decline. Each attempt to punish a rival only accelerates the shift of power away from Washington. And each adjustment by India proves that New Delhi is no longer a weak partner, but a force capable of shaping its own destiny. So when you hear the phrase 50% tariffs, don't think of it as a blow against India. Think of it as America writing the next chapter of India's rise. A chapter where every challenge becomes an opportunity, every setback becomes a stepping stone, and every tariff becomes a test of resilience. The US wanted to control the game. Instead, it may have changed the rules forever. And in those new rules, India is emerging stronger, sharper, and more determined than ever before.